Hey everybody, welcome to Monday Night Inking. This might be a little short one because I have a ton of stuff going on right now. But for the most part, I'm going to try to keep it interesting. And at least I got back on my regular schedule, so there is that. So I'm working on this character commission right now. Is this touching the... Okay, that should help. I had to move everything in my studio, so the setup feels slightly different. Let's see. House 8 graphics in the house. All right, let's see. I'm going to do these leg grapes. That'll be cool. One thing I definitely need to get better at is like metal textures here. But I think this turned out pretty well with this breastplate. I might want to do some squigglies on these. Oh, you know what? I didn't do the cool part of this. Okay, I'll get back to those in a second. Let me just finish this before I forget. Finish the knee here. I don't know why the phone is moving so much. Sorry about that. It is funky in here today. I refuse to turn the air conditioning on immediately, the first hot day. So, of course, it's a little sticky here in the studio. Very nice armor, thank you. This is a character design commission I got an embarrassingly long time ago, in between having to figure out how to move and a bunch of other stuff. It's been on a back burner, but I'm getting to it now, fortunately. Those of you who have commissions with me waiting know that I have been very booked up lately, which is good in its own way in terms of income and job security and everything, but also that's just inherently stressful. You win some, you lose some. All right, let's see. What was I going to do? Oh, I was going to do these. That's right, that's going to be cool. Well, let me get this edge first so I can fill in that black. Get these cloth folds there. All right. That was fun. I'm going to do this other one. Do this other side before I get distracted. I always say that. Like, if I know enough to know that I should do something before I get distracted, I'm definitely still going to get distracted. Losing opacity a little bit there. This undergarment here is black. I don't know if it's literally black or it's just in heavy enough shadow that it's appearing black. It's probably literally black. That would make sense. Okay, gonna fill that in. I've been playing Dark Souls a lot lately and thinking I bet Clara would love this game, if that is, you haven't played it already. So I basically don't game at all, but I do have a working appreciation for video games, just, as an art form. And I do love a lot of things about Dark Souls. The design is very fun. I definitely enjoy the aesthetic a lot. Let's see. All right, gonna do these. I'll do the laces on the front of this plating here. This might be too thick, but let's see. Might be just right. There we go. Beautiful. See See how nice that turned out? Now I just have to go around them. See, like when I do the eyes too, I use that same pen for the eye highlight, but I also go with the brush back around the outside of it once I put it in. See, like there's a slight difference. That one hasn't been outlined, and that one has. I feel like this looks better, but every time I go through the process, I realize I want it outlined. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just bad at learning new things. Comics with Bueller. Clara, hello. Hope you're doing fantastic. I'm chugging along. I'm trying to move right now and I'll not lose too much money doing it, and, you know, pandemics and life, and there's a lot going on. But I am okay. Thank you for asking. I just didn't want to play the empty happy card. It's a little rough right now, but I'm certainly not the only one feeling that way. All right, so I'm going to outline these properly. Heavier on the bottom because of shadows. Okay. Actually, these need a little bit of dimension to them, so I'll put a slight edge there. Very slight, but it makes a big difference. I think I got a little too. More importantly, Bueller, what have you been up to? I haven't been following your channel as much as I should have. And without new comics releasing, what are you guys all doing over there? I saw that you had like guests and stuff. Hopefully that is keeping your channel busy. I know a lot of people who do, you know, weekly comics shows that have been left in the lurch without new comics coming out. All right, what was I doing? Let me finish this fabric. I have to start with the belt. And like the Midnight Vista trade has still technically not been released, which is, you know, a huge bummer. It was going to be a big deal for me, and now it's just delayed like everything else. I have my comps, and I sold some of them, as some of you know. I do still have some, by the way, if anyone wants to snatch one up. Actually, I may redact that statement because I think everything is packed right now. I can put you on a waiting list if you want. There you go. I overthunk everything. Let's see. Okay, finish this belt. Let's get some proper shadows in there for the shape of the fabric. There we go. There's that. I swear I'm not touching it with my face, but my face is just like super close to it, and somehow that's making it move. The window's open too, and there's a fair amount of wind, so that might not help. Just don't get car sick. This isn't touching. Is anything touching anything down here? That might help. Yeah, sorry, like I said, I had to move everything in my studio, so I'm a little underprepared. Not having new comics really hurts, I bet, but we found other video ideas to do. Good news is they are coming back, and our latest previews video, our most watched ever, over 10K. That's awesome, dude. I am glad to hear that. Good for you. This has been a time to find creative solutions for all of us, I think. And those of us who are already into narrative storytelling and all those fields have a bit of advantage, I think. We are doing our part to promote the comics we love. Oh, I know. You guys do great work over there. Thank you. I should watch more often, but I get so sidetracked. There's so much work to do. Let's see. Well, I hopefully have some good news on the horizon. I'm working towards trying to get my, well, this might even be premature to say, but try to get the at least the script fully written for the next short comic I want to do, or that I want to kickstart. Those of you who remember Conquer a Worm, it would be like that, except written by me. So that step would need to be done too. But I'm most of the way into the script. I work on it every morning for about half an hour, so that's about as much time as I can give it right now. But it seems to be going really well, and I'm really pleased with it. So that could be happening at some point, depending on the very fickle world of comics and comic employment. Beyond that, I am bouncing around 2 different pitches with like 2 different... There we go. Okay, hopefully that didn't kill it. I never know if you'll hear those things when I have timers going off. Anyway, but I am working out 2 different situations that may blossom into real gigs with cool writers. So we will see about that. Keep your fingers crossed. We got to see if the industry can recover first. And then I'm moving in June, so it's all very complicated right now. Let's see. We need a little bit more line weight there to keep those shadows in there. That's good. That fabric came out nice. Don't skimp on fabric. When fabric looks good, it really looks good. This could look a lot better, but it already looks pretty good. Don't ever forget shadows either. Shadows make all the difference. All right, this side of the skirt. A little bit of shadow here on the leg. All right, there's a front seam on these pants. Go. All right, I can finish these folds. All right, a little bit more containment line weight there. There we are. Andrew J. Brown joined. Hello, Andrew. Always good to see you in here. Did you get that sketchbook, Andrew? I used to be better at following up about those things, but all the mail is slow for me now, at least for me. I have this package I've been waiting for since like 2 weeks ago, and they keep saying like, oh, sorry, it's delayed. It's totally coming, but it's delayed, and it keeps getting more and more delayed. And it was important equipment too. Fortunately, I was able to work around it and get finished with what I had to finish without it, but man, it was a pain. Finally, I can join you on the live stream. Haven't seen it in the mail yet. There's still a reasonable time window. You're the only one who bought one, though. It's gonna let it feel exclusive. I really thought making those limited edition would have more selling power, but maybe I don't have enough chops yet. A few more books under my belt, maybe those will be more exclusive. Those limited printings. All right, let's see. Let me do the rest of that skirt here. That'll be fun. Ugh, that was a bad dip. Let's try that again. Entirely too much water on that one. There we go. All right, so this is kind of a chunky fabric. Alexi! Welcome back. Hello, friend, to you too. Chunk this out here. It's good seeing all your names pop back up in here. Didn't like being away for so long. Okay, so this has a bit of texture to it. There we go. Like that. All right, losing opacity there. Yeah, this one's been fun so far. There's expressions too, but I've only gotten through 1.5 of them. So far, this has been all today. I don't usually work on just one thing per day, so I can't usually, have a physical representation of what a full day's work looks like. But so far, this has been all today. And a character design like this, a turnaround like this with, a turnaround and range of expressions and stuff, it definitely takes longer than, the same number of figures that aren't as a character design, because you have to be so meticulous with them. So that's kind of why it took so long, which is fine. I'm the sort of performance-oriented person that I always feel bad if I think I've underperformed, and I have to remind myself, no, it's legit for a project like this to take all day. Rad. Thank you, Alexi. And a little heavier. So let's see, what kind of texture am I putting in here? I'm arguing this is the same fabric as this, but I still think I'm going to go with a slightly chunkier texture for the rendering, because we are going to go into solid black on this, but we are going to do a gradient into it. And we'll see how that looks. I hope everybody's having a good Memorial Day. I know it's not the most traditional one we've ever had, unfortunately, but I know a lot of people are still making the best of it, having little social distancing events, things like that. of thought nobody would be in this stream just because of how holiday it is. I don't know what that syntax meant. Alexi says, I'm studying some gesture drawings right now so I can give my characters more expressive poses. That's awesome. Like, I mean, I follow your posts. You do some really lovely stuff. You are very intentional about learning and targeting your weaknesses and stepping up your game all the time. And I genuinely admire that. Like, I wish I were better at that. Okay, let's see. You're drawing for a writer buddy? That's cool. I find, well, I mean, maybe it's obvious to say, because usually the people you do end up working with as comic book artists are writers, but writers are extremely grateful when it comes to personalized art, I find. Let's see. I can't quite tell if that's how I want it to stay, but I would need to know more about this leg before I make that decision. So I'm going to do this. A bonus drawing gift, actually. The only thing better than a gift is a bonus drawing gift. Oops, that time I did touch it with my face. I accept responsibility for that specific instance. Okay, so on this side, well, there's going to be shadow from this. There we go. A little bit from the strap. There's a bolt here. There's a bolt on both of these. Okay, fill that in. That's coming nice. That's coming nice. The full character design is about the most detailed you ever get to be anyway. Like, that would be using, the simplified version of everything if these were the interior pages, For an interior, it's about the speed of the read and the efficiency of the page. You don't want to put in too much detail. But out here, where you're laying the groundworks for the character, in all instances, that's where you put in all the information. Okay. Your expression work is one of the main reasons I contacted you about a commission. They are really fantastic. Thank you, dude. Yeah, I'm sorry I can't get to it sooner. There's just so much going on right now. I was looking at the ones on your link. I don't go to those sites often enough. That was some cool stuff. And yeah, I would love to draw Jubilee. I have never drawn Jubilee before. That'll be fun. She's a fun character. I really haven't drawn most superheroes, actually, now that I think about it. What superheroes have I ever drawn? Like, even just in passing. I think I drew Spider-Man once in school. Yeah, I'm not generally a superhero person, so that was sort of stepping out for me. But it'll be fun. DJ! Hey, dude. Good to see you in here. DJ, are you still well, not to give anyone away, are you still in the area you were when we met? Because I was wondering how things were going down there. I'm still in a pretty rural area right now until I move next week. Have I brought that up enough times yet? Anyway, it's pretty rural where I currently am, so we're basically not affected. Like, it's still, it's still important, but way less than it would be in a major city. Of course, it's very cool. My other suggestion would have been Gambit or Black Widow. It's been a fun theme. Yeah, dude, it's a really good idea. And I was seeing some of the comments. Everyone else is saying that too. Like, oh, this is so obvious. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It is on my list, which is an impressive whiteboard full of stuff, which I would show you if it didn't require me moving the very carefully placed phone. I appreciate your patience, though. It's a bit of a scary time because, with comics shut down, or mostly shut down, you don't really know where your next job is coming from. So I'm just taking piles and piles of commissions. So y'all, if you want a commission, now's the time to get in line. Okay, DJ says it's just a time. Fortunately, I'm also living in a more rural area, so it's not too bad. Okay, well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I think we both did the same thing. We got out of school like, well, gotta live somewhere affordable. Show me them rural areas. Let's see. Seeing artists that aren't really into superheroes draw them is cool because they're often influenced less by artists that drew them before. I think so. I think so, at least. No, I would agree with that. I hadn't necessarily thought about that in terms of superheroes specifically, but like I know when, like when I feel bad that I'm not super cool like the artist that I like, that's an instance to remind yourself that, people are hiring you for your style. Just because you don't necessarily like your own style doesn't mean these other people don't. Like, clearly that's what they had in mind when they hired you. So your opinion of your own work fluctuates quite a bit. And somehow this conversation went into that whole area. But I do agree. People drawing outside their normal style is usually very interesting. All right, what am I going to do with this? I don't know. I might need to fill it in more. It's looking a bit weird. If I can just keep it textural, maybe I can keep that fabric attitude. Just keep it somewhat dry brush there. That shape might not really work, but I can give it a try. Maybe mostly... this area here would catch the light a little bit, I think. Further down here really wouldn't. Oof, too dark. Okay, I think that's working pretty well. Again, I can go super detailed because it is a character design and not interiors. Gigi says, what you working on? So this is just a, I shouldn't say just, that's rude. This is a character design commission. I'm just working on a big stack of commissions right now between gigs. All right, hang on one second. Let me see what time it is. Wow, it hasn't even been half an hour yet. All right, let's see. Trying to decide if I want to do... You know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something interesting for you guys. I want to do spatter on both these pairs of boots. I mean, they're the same pair of boots. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the boots here, and then we'll do the taping and the spatter. Might be interesting to watch. Ooh, almost dropped it there. This is therapeutic to watch. Really? Thank you. I appreciate that. The critic says, I agree. I'm fascinated by inking for some reason. Fortunately, I am also fascinated by inking. Yeah, it's amazing the different things I find that people like. There are people that like to just see like finished product, and there are people that like the time-lapse videos. Those are definitely fun to make. Half the time I will tag those satisfying videos just because they are so cool to watch, and they are very satisfying videos, especially just filling in large areas of black. And then there are people that want to see process work, like, you know, the pencils versus the inks versus the thumbnails versus the colors, even if I did the color. So I got to just sort of keep trying all kinds of different things. Okay, there's that. I need to get better at footwear in general. It's something I've always sort of half-assed, I think, but these came out okay. The other ones, oh wait, here's some cool ones. Here's some cool boots I did for the last one. I like how those turned out. I've been practicing, you know, trying to figure out how to do like the shiny leather. Been drawing a lot of cat suits to figure that out. Because you just go through, you know, you're just reading comics or looking at art, and you just keep a running list. Like, I keep an actual physical list of things that when I see them drawn by someone else, I realize I couldn't do that. I don't know how to do that. I need to figure out how to do that. Not just literally how to do that, but how to translate that into my own style. So that's sort of what I do on my morning warm-ups. Might be a dumb question, but is it just India ink you use? I mean, probably in the broad category. This is the ink I use right now, the Delator 3. But as long as it's opaque enough and waterproof, then you're good to go. Acrylic-based inks can be harsh on the brush, but that depends on what kind of line you're trying to do. I keep meaning to do like a full video of like, this is what you need to know about inking. These are what the different brushes do. These are different kinds of inks. So I'm going to try to get to that. Just put it on the pile with all the other things. Sorry, not trying to sound grumpy tonight. It's mostly just hot in here. Oh, I hear someone doing poppers outside. Like down the block, somebody's doing poppers. Somebody's finally celebrating. Is that little fireworks? I think I'm hearing like little faraway fireworks. Very cool. No FW. Everybody I know swears by it. Haha. I mean, I liked FW, but it was part of my brush problem, it turns out. Because FW is one of those acrylic-based inks, and depending on the time of year, like we had a very dry winter, and that was part of the source of my brush problem, was the brushes were just wearing out real fast. Most of it was the Masters, the ink wash, the brush cleaner. Most of that, or that was most of the problem, but the FW actually wasn't helping. It was sort of hurting the situation. And I genuinely love this Delator 3 way more. It's much blacker than the FW ever was for me. It's very smooth. But, you know, it totally depends on what you're trying to get out of your style. Like Sean still uses the FW a lot of the times, I believe, because he's very much about the dry brush and those textures, whereas I'm very much about these very sharp little lines and getting, like, very clean marks. So in that case, I need a thinner ink, like the Delator. FW is a great ink. It's just was not doing what I needed it to do anymore. And I learned a good lesson. Like, just because something is a good product doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Got to pave your own path. All right, let's see. I got to scroll back up. Missing some of these comments. A video on brush care might be cool. Yeah, definitely. I want to do that. Oh, okay, cool. Thank you. I want to try inking like this, but I don't have the confidence yet. Hey, dude, there's only one way to get there. You got to just do it. We took the dog out earlier because he won't want to walk in this evening from the fireworks. Oh, yeah. Sorry to those of you who have dogs who are afraid of fireworks. That's rough. What was I going to say? I was going to show someone something. Video on brush care. Oh, I was going to show Chris Foron the... I like to tell people this is a great gateway tool if you want to get into brush inking. Hold on, let me clean this. This is the Kiritaka 13 brush pen. You can find it on Jet Pens, but specifically if you need to reference this again, you can find it on my my tools section in my highlights reel on my profile. But it's a synthetic brush pen. It's a very fine point. I made my first couple comics in art school with this, and I had 2 of them. And it's just a refillable cartridge, if you're familiar with brush pens. And it was what I used to sort of accustom myself to brush inking. I haven't used this in years, so it's probably pretty low. But if you're worried about your confidence and being able to transition into brush, I would definitely suggest this tool because it is very similar in a lot of ways. It was a great gateway tool for me. Yeah, these are both pretty dead, but they're also very old. Haven't touched these in years. So yeah, definitely recommend the Kiritaka number 13. And really, any brush pen is better than, you know, trying to go from pens to brush or whatever it is you've been using. Let's see. Okay. Okay. And to scroll back down to make sure I wasn't missing more comments. All right. Let me get back on this. Now people are outside yelling for their kids or their dogs or whatever. My neighbor has 2 dogs and a kid, and they're like those people that give their dogs human names. So I'm never sure. Like, it took me the longest time to figure out who was the kid and who was the dog. And, you know, when they yell for the kid is out with the dog, so I don't know which one they're yelling for. Like, there's no context clues at all. Just made me laugh every time. All right. My thing with learning how to ink with a brush was I couldn't get consistent line weight. I mean, that's probably the hardest part because that's that's not what the brush is for. Like, I don't get a consistent line weight either, and that's why I use it, because I want that line variety. I need to be constantly oscillating between thick and thin to get those, to create the forms I'm looking for. If I really needed like a dead line, I would use a ruler, or I would use a pen, like a Micron or something. I mean, I guess with a ruler you can get a pretty dead line, but obviously it has to be a straight line. So like, you know, like that. Any interesting commissions coming up for you? A couple. There's still a few more characters in this set that I need to finish working on. There's definitely some interesting things coming up. Let me look at my, whoops, sorry. I have more covers in the job that you and I have been working on together. So I need to do the next thumbnail for that. Beyond that, I'm coming up with a cool idea for the next Instagram auction I want to do. I think it might be a Monty Python themed piece. So cross your fingers if you're into that. You might get a stab at bidding in the auction for it. All right, let me end this. And then we will see how boring it is to show you how I do spatter in an isolated area. I think it's cool, but I think it will be boring to watch, but I don't know. It needs to get done. Maybe someone will like it. Who knows? All right, let's see. So when I do ink spatter, I always do the line art first so that I can be sure I don't lose any of the information about the line that I needed. Oh, come on. And then I take pieces of tape and go around the edges. And as you can see, those are reused pieces. This seems insane the first time you see it done. And then you see how fast it actually goes. And it's kind of fun. It's kind of like fun busy work if you need to keep working, but you're sort of brain dead. Fold that down. Oh wow, that straight line. When I tried using a ruler with my brush, the ink bled underneath the ruler. Probably the ink. Probably not the ink. It was probably the ruler. When you're inking with a ruler, you got to make sure the ruler is not completely flat on the page. What I did for this one was I put, like, I don't know if you can really see that, but that's a layer, that's a folded up piece of tape taped on with another piece of tape. And that lifts it up off the page enough so that the ink doesn't drag underneath. A lot of rulers have like a bevel, or they have the, the cork board so that it doesn't touch the page directly. As long as your ruler or your straight edge or whatever you're using is not flat on the page, you shouldn't have any trouble with bleeding unless you scrape the ruler over it while it's wet or something like that. I recall seeing Jim Lee doing spatter with a credit card or something like that. Yeah, that's a thing. That's not what I'm going to do here today, but that can be a very useful tool. I have like an old gift card I do that with sometimes. I think it's more for just not getting it all over yourself, honestly, which I don't mind. Actually, it does create a different effect. I shouldn't say that. Would never disparage Jim Lee. He's a hero. But it definitely depends on the effect you're trying to get. And with practice, you discover like all the different little tricks. I usually use toothbrush spatter, which you'll see here when I'm done taping this off. And depending on how much water you put on the brush too, or first, you can get a very sort of like, oh, I forgot I'm covering this up completely. You can get a very sort of dry, sandy spatter, or you can get, you know, if you put enough water on there, you can get a real juicy sort of like, you know, blood spray or like saliva spray that just feels very visceral and chunky. And then for something like stars where you want some variety, you kind of want to do something in between. So you just sort of have it medium wet. You get some big stars, some little stars, which is what you want. It creates that sort of randomized variety, which is what you're using it for. It's the reason you're doing spatter in the first place, is it randomizes in a way you probably can't with your human eye. It's very difficult to randomize. If I have to do a random pattern, half the time I will just like look away and make random gestures and then sort of build from there, because you're so used to working in a very organized way and your brain is so calibrated to look for textures, or not look for textures, but to create and see patterns. It's very hard to fight that. All right, almost done with this shoe. See, it doesn't take nearly as long as you think it would when I start out. Plus, when it's done, it's really fun to take off. I want to do that one better. It's an important line. All right, this little one. Those of you that are crafty as well as artistic, this sort of scratches both itches. Okay, there's that one. Do this one real quick. No, this piece could be better used up here. There we go. I'm gonna buy you liquid Frisket for your birthday. All this tiny tearing is killing me. I have Frisket. I have several kinds of Frisket. I use it more for stars, though. I don't like to put Frisket on already completed line work because sometimes it tears the line work up when you take it off. And I'm gonna be honest, I kind of love this. This is fun. It's like Tetris. Did warn you all it was boring, though. The spatter part is fun to watch, though. I did a couple time-lapse versions of this that are probably more fun to watch on my in my highlights reel in the inking section, I believe, where I used white spatter to make the highlights on sunglasses, which is a very cool effect I don't get to use very often, but it came out looking like just great. So that's a cool one to look at if you're interested in this but don't want to watch the boring part. Stay here. Let's see. Is that? Nope. There's still a bunch of you watching. If you like it, I do. Aw, thank you. Frisket for Stars / Sky is a huge one. Yeah, man, I love that so much. There are people that still hand draw stars, and like maybe that's what they need for their style, but that's something that still blows my mind. It's like, just like do the Frisket. It looks so natural and so good, and it's so fun to do. I don't find it boring, TBH. Well, good. I mean, everyone likes different things. Glad to hear that. Gonna get to the spatter real soon here, so that's good. Then I need to mask the rest of it with actual pieces of paper, but that's easy enough. yeah, to my side here, I just have boxes of scrap paper at all different sizes and all of it heavily used, like just all covered with ink and spatter and stuff. You'll see it in a minute, but I make good use of my scraps. All right, one more here. No. Take my scraps, put them, where's the best space, cover that up, cover all that up. There's a sticky note, those are useful. Need a good big one to make sure everything is covered. Calm down, phone. Goodness. All right, what does DJ say? LOL, and I thought flats were boring. JK, this is pretty fascinating. Ironically, I also find flats pretty relaxing. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if I'm actually a very lazy person. Because I find that kind of busy work very enjoyable. Like, I'm the kind of person who likes washing dishes. I don't know, I think it's just like I get to feel like I'm doing something necessary, but it's not hard. I don't know. It's probably some deep psychological reason for that. Okay, here we go. So I'm taking my toothbrush over here. For this one, I'm going to say, I'm probably going to go for like the stars amount of water because I want a decent variety. I'm dripping some ink on it. Would do it over there, but that is dangerous. Okay, we'll see if that's enough. Here we go. Test it. Oh, good. It's easy to overdo when this is the only part you can see. That's probably enough, honestly. All right. Rinse that. And here it comes. Put those all back for next time. All right, rather than dig at that tape right now, I'm gonna let everything dry just to make sure I don't smear anything. So I will start working on one of these while that all dries. Let's see, let me catch up on comments here. Thank you so much for the pen suggestion. I'll definitely picking them up. You're very welcome. Yeah, it's a good pen. And definitely look into brush pens in general. Like a lot of people, there's a lot of really great artists that use like almost exclusively just brush pens and they put out some great work. Like just because I use this or like, you know, someone else who likes uses the brush doesn't mean that's necessarily the only tool for you. All right, I'm gonna do more of this. I like doing spatter effects with a toothbrush too. Absolutely. They are very fun. Now we get to enjoy the delayed gratification of letting that all dry before we peel off the tape. Bump that line weight a little. I gotta be so careful of where I put my hand so that I don't smear the spatter. How's that looking? It's almost dry. If you tilt it the right way to the light, you can see where the juicy spots still are. So this big one is still not quite dry. I'll give it another second or so. Let's see here. Okay, I think it's about that time. And this is why I keep a tweezer with my drawing tools. Okay, which way should I go? If you go in the reverse of the way you laid them down, they'll sort of all come up as a set, generally speaking. Should take them as they're underlapping here. Oops. Dropped that one, but you didn't need to know that. And this is also a time to be careful, because if you're too rough with this, even though it is artist tape and it's designed to be gentle on the paper, you can still tear your page. Good big chunk there. All right, and there we go. It seems like a lot of work for a small payoff, but I think it looks great, and honestly, like I said, I kind of like doing it. I think it's fun. I think it's part of the merit of traditional art, is that some things definitely take longer, but it exists in a physical space. And that's what's worth it to me. Clean this up a little bit. And there's always things you got to clean up afterwards, so let's see. Actually, I think they all look pretty good there. Let's see, what time is it over there? Oh, I'm about to run out of time, just when I was about to check. All right, well, thank you everyone for stopping in. Keep taking care of yourselves, and have a great Memorial Day. All right, good night.